The 3-hour race underway. The 14-lister has to finish second or higher to clinch the championship. Jamie Campbell-Walter made a superb rocket-like start to take the lead in the 14-lister, and the car sport Holland Viper quick off the Mark II, taking up second with the other lister third. But disaster on the first turn for the number 12 Belmondo Viper, seemingly nudged from behind as the field hurtled into that first turn. The team with 3 cars on the grid, hoping that a good result could put them in title contention. Jean-Denis Delatraz in the Ferrari found himself at the side of the track again and seemed to be the culprit of that Belmondo spin. Jamie Campbell-Walter in the leading lister had his work cut out in the early stages, and the car sport Holland team continued to chase, knowing only too well what they had to do to reverse the title fortunes. The top end of the field still relatively very close as they knock off another lap, with Jamie Campbell-Walter still leading from Mike Hazelmans and then Philippe Fabre in the number 15 lister. The battle for 4th place boiled down to Marc Duet in the familiar yellow livery of the Paul Belmondo team and the second car sport Holland team entry of Peter Cox. He was partnering David Hart, the usual co-driver to Mike Hazelmans, the scenario being that Hazelmans needs all the help he can get because winning alone may not be enough. After continually closing on the back of Hazelmans, Philippe Fabre makes his way past the 25 Viper to take second, and that's good news for both listers. The Dutch car sport team have their hands somewhat tied this weekend, with fuel consumption problems their beast of burden. Energy conservation a must, and the possibility that they might have to splash and dash more than the lister. With the leading lister's rear view mirror full of black instead of orange, the news was good for Jamie Campbell-Walter, and the pressure had eased just a little bit, and I might just allow him to extend his lead and not have to defend it, with his teammate acting as rear gunner. The battle for 4th was still in the hands of Duet, though. The second car sport Holland team desperately after that place that could make so much difference to the championship title chances of the Dutch team. Pit stop time and Luca Riccitelli was 8 seconds behind Christophe Bouchou, the leader of the NGT class. Meanwhile, back on the track, it's lap 11 and an unexpected turn-up for the books when the 15 lister started closing right up behind his teammate and then passed him to take the lead. But it was over as quick as it had happened, with Fabre spinning and dropping to 6th place. That meant the 14 lister still leads. The FIA GT Championship at Magna Cours, Christophe Bouchou leads the NGT class. And the 14 lister leads the race overall, and if it stays like this, the championship title is as good as confirmed. Despite the odd detour, possibly due to oil on the track, and a brief threat from the second lister taking the lead for less than a lap before spinning and slipping back down the leaderboard. Lap 20, and after around 45 minutes, Hazelmans has slowed to 4th place and then came into the pits. They knew that they had a fuel problem here, but now they know just how bad it was, and this is the answer. They had to make one more stop than Lister, and on that basis, it seems very unlikely that they can win the race, or more importantly, the title. But then the race took another turn, and one that could just benefit the Hazelmans camp. The leading Lister had come into the pits for a stop-and-go penalty for overtaking under yellow flag conditions, and the playing field was suddenly a little more level again. After that early stop from Hazeman's, the number 14 Lister had picked up an advantage, and that now had been scrapped after that stop-and-go penalty. The Belmondo car of Marc Douay had now inherited the lead, whilst the leading pair made their pit visits. But it was always going to be short-lived, as their pit stop became imminent. So it was too for the second Car Sport Viper of Cox and the 15 Lister, who came in for their pit stop also, and the grid was a hive of activity as the leaderboard positions could be shuffled depending on the team's performance in the pit lane. Once back out of the pits a few laps later, it was disaster for the 39 car, with David Hart at the wheel finding the gravel track and losing 4th place. Now on its 3rd time in the pits, but this the 2nd scheduled stop for the Lister as it takes on fuels, tyres, and the driver reverts back to Jamie Campbell-Walter after Julian Bailey took the middle stint. And another stop for the Car Sport team, the thirsty Viper needing a splash and dash, and Tom Coronel to take the latter part of the race behind the wheel. But then it was disaster for the 15 Lister that had been spinning all day. Once more, it was stuck on the track, and it had to gingerly work its way back into the race once more. It had all been pretty plain sailing for the 52 Porsche, easily leading the NGT class, and already the title winners 2 rounds ago. But it was tense to say the least on the pit wall as the Lister team followed their car's progress, but it was getting very close as the Viper was now within a whisper of the Lister, the gap only a second. The cruel nail in the coffin for the Dutch team challenge came when Coronel just clipped the grass and ran off into the gravel trap. Despite finding his way back onto the track again, the damage was done, and that was the deciding point of the race and the decider of the championship. It was now just a jubilant cruise to the line with the Viper 20 seconds behind and not enough distance left to make amends. It was extreme relief on the pit wall and in the car, not to mention jubilation as Jamie Campbell-Walter took the first view of the checkered flag for the final time in 2000. With the 2nd Lister coming home 5th, that would be enough to take the team to the championship title as well.
The end of a dramatic race, and this is the finishing order with Lister leading Car Sport Holland and then Belmondo over the line for a fantastic end to what has been a great season for the British team, taking the title with what amounts to a hand-built race car against a horde of Vipers and the occasional Porsche. Close, but not close enough. There was only a handful of points in it at the end of the year, but history will show that it was Julian Bailey and Jamie Campbell-Walter who took the title, even though the outcome was only decided with just 3 laps left and could so easily have gone the other way at the end of the race. So often the source of similar drama, the NGT boys were unusually quiet and well-mannered this weekend, perhaps because the title was already settled. The end of a season which was everything it should have been. The new regulations have been more than vindicated, and things look even better for next year.